Doug, because one of the areas, some of these areas that Vladimir Putin is set to annex here are not firmly under Russia's control. Just today, we have reports coming in that Ukrainian troops have encircled Lyman in the Donbass. What does that mean to you, considering Moscow says, look, once these areas are annexed, we're going to use everything we've got in our arsenal to protect it. But at the same time, you have authorities in Ukraine who are saying, we're not going to stop just because you go ahead and hold these sham referendums and what follows.
Yeah, it means in a nutshell, it's going to make the Crimea annexation, and Daniel was sort of alluding to this, it's going to make Crimea look like it was a cakewalk in the sense that, yeah, we hear that 15 to 20%, depending on the estimations of total territory taken, of Ukraine's total territory is now subject to annexation after all of these decrees are signed and it passes into law and it's finally green-lighted by Parliament and by Putin. However, you're absolutely right. Parts of swathes of Donetsk, as well as the Zaporizhzhia region, are not under full Russian control, have not been captured by Russian forces, remain in the hands of the Ukrainian military, which essentially means, to boil it down, is that Russia is about to absorb and claim as its own hundreds of square miles of territory that are not in Russia and that are not controlled by Russian forces, leaving a lot of people in a legal limbo, which is putting it mildly, and perhaps worse, even a threat to their lives, because they're not going to really know whom they have to answer to.
A question, Doug, but because if Ukraine continues to fight like it says it will once these areas are annexed, that effectively ups the ante, doesn't it, for the Ukrainians? Does it mean that the Europeans, the Americans, NATO will also want the ante to be upped?
Look, it depends who you ask in Europe and the U.S., right? There are clearly some who would love somehow for there to be a negotiated solution in Europe, and those are poisonous words to Ukraine. And very few people who really, care about the outcome of this war, at least in international law, and care about territorial integrity. They don't want to hear anything about negotiated solution. As Zelensky's made clear, you can't negotiate with a country that violates and rips up the very fundamental charter upon which the UN was founded, which requires country to respect other countries' sovereignty and territorial integrity. That is not being done here in any way, shape, or form. But it's true that Putin is banking on, he is counting on, he has a deeply embedded conviction, I said this before, that the West ultimately is weak and decadent and divided, that Putin will ultimately prevail, he believes, because Russia is stronger and has more determination and is ready to stay the course and play the long game here. He doesn't believe Europe has it in it, has the guts and has the staying power to match him step for step in this, which is why he's going through with this annexation. Once he creates, as he sees it, facts on the ground, it will become that much harder for the West to keep its appetite up for remaining in solidarity with Ukraine, even if the words are all there for now, the West saying we'll stay on, the U.S. continuing to commit billions and billions of dollars in arms and other support. He is banking on the fact that that appetite will diminish over time, and that the very fact of having it on the ground, at least on Russian legal paper, as an annexation, that will perhaps give more pretext for those who are inclined to try to get to the negotiating table to do so sooner rather than later. He may be miscalculating, though, because the appetite of the West at this hour is still very much there.